Hello? Hello, hello?
Now, okay, sorry about that, y'all. Everything's set to default to pull off my default audio pool, and I'm on default everywhere else. Don't know why it didn't work. I'm not brilliant enough to rapidly figure it out. Thank you for your patience, but we have you now. I don't know why I had to select the exact specific port for audio when everything else works off default. That's okay. We're here.
All right. So let me do this preamble again very quickly.
Do it again.
Welcome everybody to Factual Fables, the game. See, this is what happens. The magic. The first time. Welcome to Factual Fables, the show where we take real-world mythology and we use it to spice up your monster manual. And today, of all days, am I super excited to bring to you my personal favorite, dragons. More specifically, the chromatic dragons of D&D. Now, obviously, we're covering dragons. There's going to be a lot to talk about, so buckle up and be ready, my good friends and people of the internets and nerd culture at large. But let me go into a quick run over of just all chromatic dragons in general, and then we'll start going into the individual types, then we'll get into the culture. So, first off, to know chromatic dragons in D&D is to know pretty much every medieval legend of dragons ever. Big, scary reptiles that fly in the sky and eat people, but also like to steal their stuff and hoard it underneath their bellies and just sit there like big old Oscar the Grouches. Instead of trash, it's just gold, right? And some big, valiant warrior has to show up and slay the damn thing, otherwise it's going to continue to subjugate a town. But
Yeah, we don't want that.
no, we don't.
I'm spoiled. I can't do subjugated work. I'm spoiled. I couldn't do it at all. I mean, shovel dirt and pick up gold pieces. I'm out.
Some of these dragons may not give you the choice.
What do you mean?
So,
we have the right to choose.
No, you don't. I'm sorry. So let's go into the individual types of these dragons and basically give you a rundown. Brandon, can you pull up our first friend, please?
I mean, I'll think about it.
Okay.
You gonna ask me nicely?
Please, can you do it?
Yeah, hang on. I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing with you. It's up there.
Okay, cool. So, first off, we're obviously going to talk about the white dragons being the smallest, less physically imposing of all dragons, and also the less mentally capable. White dragons are known for their bestial nature. They are big, angry hunters that only care about the thrill of the hunt. Mostly going after very large game, other monsters, anything that's weird in its territory, it will pretty much take out. It also does like to hoard, just as every other dragon, usually encasing its hoard in the ice breath that it actually spews, in order to just keep it protected and keep it away from the adventuring party as a whole. What they are also known for is hating all other dragons. Every single one of them. Even its own kind. If it's in its territory, whether it's bigger or smaller, it will fight it. Just angry boys. Another thing that they're known to hoard is actually trophies from their hunts. Specifically, opponents that did give it a damn good fight. If an opponent is able to give it a fight like that, it will not eat the opponent. It will simply encase them in ice in its lair, like macabre sculptures in various poses of battle. They nasty. Obviously, they are more cold adept, hence the ice breath, resistances to cold, but also gaining the same movement speeds and basic attacks as every other dragon, with the multi-attacks, the tails, the wing attacks, all of these other basic necessities of dragon. But let's move on to one of its more interesting cousins. Let's go for the green dragon. Let me know when that's up.
Well, there he is.
So, green dragons are admittedly far more intelligent while less powerful. While they are slightly larger than their white cousins, they are still rather frail in terms of dragons as a whole. That doesn't mean it still can't kick your ass with physical attacks. You are itty bitty, he is huge. But
No, I could take him.
yeah, rah, crayons. Anyways.
I'd win.
That depends as if you know that you're talking to the dragon.
What do you mean? I can
green
see what
dragons,
it looks like.
green dragons specifically, are the most cunning and intelligent, with also a very big affinity for diplomacy and deceit. Also for polymorphing.
Oh.
These creatures will sometimes, it's not common, but it is known to happen, where a green dragon will parade around itself in a human disguise in order to get to certain areas and weasel its way around into a surrounding population, into basically already doing the dragon's work for it. In terms of combat, these dragons have no issue beating up random prey items and other animals in the forest. That's no issue. They are specifically more linked to forest and wild areas like jungles, not swamps. We'll get to that. But they have a real issue when it comes to sentient beings, where they will do their best to lie, trick, and steal from them before they even get to their lair. Sometimes even causing them to die simply due to a lie that it's about something being in an area when it happened to be something even bigger and scarier. They like to use their terrain to their advantage, and they like to use their guile and wit more than anything else.
So they know they're not beefy boys, so they use their brain upstairs.
Yes, they do.
Makes
a
more
lot.
Sense.
Yes.
Even though I know the answer to all these questions, I'm just gonna play dumb the whole time. What's its morning breath like? Is it bad? Like, we talking like crest level here? Do we need some mouthwash?
Green dragons are actually the only dragon that doesn't share a breath weapon with any other dragon in the game, breathing a fog of poison.
They got that stank breath.
They got that stank breath. That's like that's like you haven't brushed your teeth in 3 days.
The green dragon is the theory unlocked. The green dragon is the 10th Doctor in all of those toothbrush commercials. Was like, 9 out of 10 doctors recommend this. This is the one recommending nothing because he wants you to have stinky breath like him.
Fair. That's fucking.
You thought you were going to get a serious conversation with me behind the helm? No.
I'm the 10th dentist. Okay.
That's mantle.
Honestly, when you said 10th Doctor, I thought you meant like Doctor Who.
No.
That's what I thought. I thought you meant like David Tennant.
No.
It's like, David Tennant is a fucking national treasure. What do you mean?
How dare you?
All right.
No.
Next up, we have one of my personal favorites. Let's bring in the black dragon.
I've always liked the way their horns look on the official art. That's like a personal favorite as far as like horns.
Yeah. Now, black dragons are all...
Uh-oh. I'm losing you, James.
Hold on, I'm trying.
No, you're good.
Okay, we're back.
You good? Because I was going to pull from my notes.
Anyways. No, I just switched over the Wi-Fi. It's fine. And I got rid of a few things. Perhaps maybe not enough. There we go. So, anyways, black dragons are also known as skull dragons, solely due to the fact that as they age, the smoother appearance of their face, which is more akin to what you'd see in a red or a green dragon, dips and pulls in against its own skull. Its sunken-in eyes are reminiscent of what a dragon's skull would look like after it is dead. And those frontward facing horns is probably indicative of the one feature that you can use to tell it apart from most other dragons. Because if you look at it, most of the other dragons have more of a distinct head shape,
Yeah.
but most of them would have the same skeletal structure outside of maybe the blue dragon.
True.
Um,
True.
So indicative of those horns would be the best way to tell if it is a black dragon or not, especially if you're in the dark and have nothing but dark vision, right?
Oh, true. Then
So if an
yeah,
adventuring
you're
party
looking
is
at
trying
that.
to figure it out.
Yeah, you could be like, we see a sleeping dragon, but everything is in grayscale. Remember that. Remember that, GMs. Don't let the episode like, oh, we all have dark vision. I don't care. If it's in color, you either can't see it or you can't tell.
But no, so black dragons are the swamp dwellers. They love living in these disgusting pools of muck and moss and peat. But their presence in an area makes everything toxic. Near everything. The water, the food that would grow in the trees themselves, everything becomes almost a perpetual rancid scent of decay. They are also known for breathing a line of acid, and are the most cruel of all of the chromatic dragons, hence the most evil of the dragons, which is actually what they are known for. They are more likely to enjoy torturing and subjugation rather than just outright killing a foe. A lot like the green dragon, they like to hoard people. Green dragons more so they have a bunch of followers that it can use in its manipulations, but the black dragon simply likes using them as target practice. Another favorite piece of the horde of black dragons, however, is memorabilia from nations that it has outlived. Specifically. So if you have a coin from a civilization that started within its lifetime and then died within its lifetime, it loves that. It loves... Yeah. It loves the idea of outliving those civilizations.
One thing I would like to do was like break down the some of the thought process behind the dragons. Like, and that's just an interesting fact that I didn't find. But what do you think makes the black dragon specifically want that kind of stuff?
So obviously being the most...
I'm like, because it's such a... It would be... I wouldn't attribute to the fact that it knows it can live long enough, because all the dragons can live long enough, essentially. Like, what would make it want to really prove or have that?
So, I think it's more to do with the fact of, like, the folly of man, these lesser beings. Because another thing that's shared by all of the dragons is that they believe that they are superior beings to all things in existence. Period.
True.
Flat. All dragons believe themselves to be the epitome of life.
Of life. So they can have these, like, you know, oh, this brick here, oh, that brick there is from a castle of blah, 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 that rose and fell in nearly 200,000 years. But I keep it here as a reminder.
Yeah, no, sincerely. And especially in the Black Dragon's case,
That's a good point.
If you think about it, if the neighboring kingdom is nearby and something like a place that this dragon had already been plaguing, or let's say it was one of the places it stayed along its many layers or hordes that it could have in its lifetime.
Yeah.
It outlived the motherfuckers that it terrorized.
True.
It caused that much pain. It left a mark, kind of deal. Also, if you wanna look at it that way.
Yeah, that's a good one. Good way to see it.
Now, on to the next one. The blue dragon.
Ah, yes.
Yes.
We'll zoom on that boy without distorting the image too much. That's pretty good.
Yes. Now, the blue dragons are the second strongest of all chromatic dragons. They are bulky. They are tanks among dragons. Usually living in the desert and beneath the sands, it will create its lair in such a way that it could, in fact, collapse its own tunnels at a mere flick if it needs to trap any adventurers or possible assailants and suffocate them. And then it just digs it out again later.
So like a really advanced trapdoor spider.
Yeah, like terribly so. Now, while these dragons are strong, they actually prefer operating in the shadows, mainly by it enjoys much the same as the green black. They love bringing in minions, especially minions of power. The more skilled its minion is, the more value it sees it to have. So things like
Oh.
politicians, master blacksmiths, bards of incredible talent, it uses them to increase its influence in its area, especially if there's a village nearby. It will use them to infiltrate and impart its will upon the people. Then, if that doesn't work, it shows up and it doesn't matter. Now you're all mine.
Now you're mine, yeah.
They are. Now, this is just my opinion, all right? But I look at the blue dragon and I'm like, that is the ugliest of the dragons.
Yeah, he kind of got a short staff and the stick on that one.
He really fucking did. Like, honestly, like I get there's some people that like the blue dragons look, but like I don't know, man. I don't think the nasal horn needed to be that fucking big. I really don't.
I mean, it's definitely there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's like a unibrow. It just sits right there and you can't stop looking at it.
But if you're ever negotiating with a blue dragon, don't stare at the horn.
Don't fucking say that. Don't say it. Just live. Survive.
Molly. You're welcome.
But yeah, so blue dragons essentially, they also have a lightning breath attack.
Yep.
In a line, which is now more overlapping with the black dragon. Every other dragon of the chromatic sense is all cones outside of the black and blue dragon. Cone of cold, cone of poison, and finally, as we switch over to our last of the chromatic dragons, let's bring up Big Red.
I mean, hang on. Big Red's too much. Gotta size him down. Okay.
How fitting, because the red dragon in D&D canon is the strongest and biggest of all dragons.
Yep.
Not just chromatic, not just metallic, all dragons. They are fiercely prideful and they are fiercely ruthless. I think it and the black dragon are the only two considered chaotic evil. I think the green and the blue are considered lawful evil, and I think the white is considered neutral evil. Red dragons don't give a singular fuck about anything that doesn't involve getting it treasure or getting it food. It is known to, if there is any kind of dragon in its territory, immediately seek it out and destroy it. The only instance in which they don't do this is when it is time to reproduce. Red dragons also, when I say pride, all dragons believe themselves to be the epitome of all things. Red dragons already believe that they own everything else. They are the only ones where it's like, I'm not stealing, I'm just taking what's mine. If anything, you stole from me.
Yeah.
They are fucking ruthless. They are big Angie. And they have
big Angie.
Big Angie. And their breath attack is the more common fire breath for what would be more classical depictions of dragons. They are your quintessential like knight in shining armor fights a dragon, this is the one that you see. All of these dragons are immensely interesting on their own, and there's a lot more lore to them than I am able to go into in this video. We're gonna be doing 4 parts to this series on dragons because we got to go through the metallics and then we got to go through both of the dragon gods.
Yep.
And we're not touching the fucking gem dragons because I don't like them.
You don't like them?
I'm kidding. I don't like them. I really don't. Especially with Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, they added a whole new part to the dragon mythos, and it just feels really forced.
Gotcha.
It doesn't work for me, dog. It just don't work for me. But we may touch on them later. I do want to kind of just go through the classics of D&D instead of trying to shoehorn the gem dragons on the end of it.
Right.
We can obviously talk about them later if we find more stuff. But I don't actually see them as having any real connections to more historical interpretations of dragons, which is what we're going to be getting into now. So, Brandon, would you mind pulling up our next image, please?
Absolutely. Oh, there's another lovely image from the very iconic game, Dragon's Dogma. And we made sure to add this because it is the pound for pound the best representation of a red dragon. Like, if you want to know how to properly play the attitude and the demeanor, the disposition of a red dragon, just go watch that cutscene. Just go type in. Just go type it in, Dragon's Dogma, and you'll figure out what to do. But anyways, the
image that we're looking for is the Apollo image shooting the fucking
we got it up there. That was just next because I forgot to switch to that one too, and it's also a great cutscene to look at and really get some insight on how you should play a dragon
on red dragons. No, that's very true. But we're gonna go into the very origins of dragons themselves, more so on the European side. So we're going straight from Greece onward. Obviously, there's still Mesopotamian roots and even farther beyond that, but that's going to come more when we talk about Tiamat and Bahamut. But we're going to get right ahead and jump into this. So the word dragon actually comes from drakon, which is Greek. And Greek dragons are far different than what we depict them as now.
Not just a bit.
And I'm gonna say this right now. That little fucking chart that's like, oh, this is like a dragon, and this is a wyvern, and this is a drake, and then this is an amphitheater. No, Greeks didn't give a shit about that. Greeks was like, if it's a big scary thing, it's a dragon. So, most of these dragons were more serpentine or large reptile-like. A few of these famous names you're going to find are Landrin, the Hydra, in this case, in this image, Python, literally Python, fucking snake.
Yeah.
They're long, they are sinuous, and in most cases have multiple heads. That's where you also get the Hydra from, which we will obviously cover in a different video. But the interesting part is that is, again, not what all dragons looked like in Greece. If you want to bring up our next image, the one of the tree with the big blue boy.
Got him.
Okay.
Do a little bit of zoom here. Hopefully not distort it too much to help out. But I do like the connection this image has to various things.
Yes. So, guarding has always been in the dragon mythos. At every single point in Greek myth, these particular forms of drakon are always guarding something. Whether you look at Landron in the field of the Hesperides with the golden apples for Hercules' labors, or if you're looking at Jason and the Argonauts with the golden fleece, like in this image, and you had the dragon beneath that tree, 9 times out of 10 they are either guarding something or they're just causing general chaos and mischief. But
Hang on. Hold up.
oh,
Pause.
hmm
Dragons cause mischief?
to an extent, yes.
No, I'm just messing with you.
No, I know. Yeah, no, I was totally surprised by that
I
too.
know,
Yeah.
right? Like green
Um,
dragons being deceitful and cunning? No.
yes. But similarities to these dragons you will find in much of Scandinavian lore, and in a lot of Germanic traditions where you hear the term worm or worm. They are long, slender, snake-like dragons. However, just because they're called worms doesn't mean it's a classification. They are just dragons.
That's just the
I'm a
verbiage that came from their language.
exactly.
Calm
I'm gonna
down,
fight all of you
James.
on
I
this.
see your heart
Uh,
rate going up. I need you to bring the beats per minute down. I
I
need you to
can't tell you
breathe.
how
Need
many
you to
times
breathe.
I can't tell you how many times people have been like, well, actually, I'm gonna put a boot up your ass. But you'll also find similarities of snake-like dragons
Mhm.
in Celtic folklore,
Yep.
specifically in Ireland and many of these other places, where they are just seen as either really big reptiles, snakes, or even flying serpents.
Wasn't there
I
like a
do.
huge one? Like and like very well
Yes,
known.
yes.
Very
Uh,
I'm just throwing the hints out there.
yeah, no, Jormungandr is fucking the best.
Yeah.
Jormungandr being the world serpent of Norse mythology. You'll also find another rather large snake-like dragon in Norse mythology, Nidhogg or Nidhogger,
Yep.
which is the dragon at the base of the roots of the world tree, that eats all of the really, really bad people for eternity when they die.
So
Also,
here
usually sends a squirrel up the tree,
yeah.
Ratatoskr, to go fuck with an eagle.
Here would be my question. Is it's obviously described as the Great World Serpent.
Yes.
Going back to how we talked about it's kind of interchangeable, where the term Drakon was basically any term, just a term given to any large, scary, powerful creature.
hmm
I think that would definitely like because it as you as we go far enough back in humanity's telltelling, and this is kind of like my interjection to this whole thing about how we are linking the human stories to fun lore games. If we go far enough back, we can trace the origin of all these words and all these things because they're going to be similar. But I do like the fact that we talked about how the term Drakon was basically just that's a big scary creature. It's a Drakon. Oh, that's a big scary creature. That's a Drakon. Then you got some guy like they don't look anything alike. I don't care. They're big and they're scary.
That's the truth. It
It is,
really
yeah.
is. And many other cultures having like different words for these creatures, but all coming to be accepted as a form of dragon
Yeah.
over the years.
Hmm.
Like even in the Middle Ages, they made like small distinctions, but then they were like, yeah, but they're dragons, right? And they're
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
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 they're
yeah.
dragons.
Dragons.
Um, but yeah, they're very, very interesting in that sense. But the father of all dragons in Greek myth, if you wouldn't mind pulling up that clay pot boy.
Of course. I gotta do a lot of zooming out. That's a big image.
Yes,
There we
I
go.
found a lot of big images. So, the father of all monsters in Greek mythology, along with the mother of all monsters, Echidna, is Typhon. Now, Typhon was considered a drakon, very, very distinctly considered a drakon. Yet, it looks like a dude with snakes for legs.
That's basically it.
It's
I mean, he's got looking at the picture here and just trying to think, the human mind trying to rationalize supernatural events or even just supernatural phenomena of the right angle of thunderous sounds and lightning hitting or things going on in the clouds or I know it's a funny FBI meme, but swamp gases. I mean, all these things are real things that happen. Or we just don't know how to describe things because we hadn't been around that long when these stories came out. But looking here,
Well,
the dude's got two snakes for legs, distinctly painted purposely. And if you remember, as we look at these things, this was done by hand. So
yeah.
if it's on here, it is by purpose and by design. So
Yep.
you've got two distinct snake legs, and then you have a very broad upper body, very powerful shoulders and arms, and then you have the scaled wings. Now maybe they were trying to obviously make feathers with that. I don't know, but to me
I do
look
believe in depictions it's supposed to be feathered.
feathered. Okay, well then, feathered wings. Like everything on here is done for a purpose. So I guess my question, like, why did they feel the need to make the legs look that much different?
Well, and here's the interesting part about Typhon. He is linked directly to legends of earthquakes and volcano eruptions. Now,
Okay.
Poseidon is also linked to earthquakes, like the god of storms and earthquakes
Yeah.
is Poseidon. One of his epithets, I believe, is the Earth Shaker. But specifically volcanoes is all Typhon. Typhon is just really, really angry that he got put under Mount Etna and is causing a rager down there. Is essentially how the legend goes.
Was his
But
time earned?
oh yeah, oh yeah,
Okay.
oh yeah. He was a big bad
bad
dude.
man?
He
Okay.
was,
He was bad
he
man.
was bad man.
Okay.
He fucking caused a lot of beef and what I believe was just trying to fuck with all the humans and like kill them all essentially. And then Zeus was like, bruh, no, party foul, mountain.
A mountain. Why is that actually a word Zeus would probably say?
Yeah, yeah. The other interesting thing that I do want to touch on before we go into some of the abilities of the dragon and how those ended up becoming a part of the mythos is the sheer fact that most dragons in early legends, and I'm talking like Proto-Indo-European and forward up until maybe Greek times, because there were other creatures that were known as dragons in size and shape, but did not have the word dragon placed upon them, right?
Okay. Yeah.
9 times out of 10, they are associated with storms and rain. Specifically, so this is where you would think that many of the D&D dragons would actually get their abilities of like messing with the area around them and being able to change them on such a fundamental level.
Environmental changes.
Many of these stories involve droughts, involve a dragon withholding something from the world, right? And changing the area around them. And then a hero associated with storms, you hear a crack of thunder and it strikes a dragon, right? Or a weapon strikes a dragon and a flash happens, various natural events, and then the rain comes back. A hero bringing about the change of weather and rain to end a drought is actually a very common theme with these dragons, and I just wanted to touch on that real quick because that could be something we fuck around with later. However, we're gonna move on to probably the most interesting portion of this. Is we're gonna talk about some of the kids of Typhon. Now, many of these are very well known. You have Cerberus, you have the Hydra, you have the Manticore, you have XYZ, name a fucking mythological beast from Greek mythology, and it probably came out of his dick. but the one
story.
The one that we want to focus on is the Chimera. So let's pull that image up.
That's not terrifying at all.
Yeah. So the Chimera, and actually this statue isn't even entirely accurate because the back half would have been that of a goat instead of a lion.
Yeah, true.
But this is where dragons get their fire breath. Out of all of these
Ah.
creatures, all of these Drakon, none of them breathed fire. In fact, what most Drakons were known for is their poison, breathing, and blood. Specifically. That's why when Hercules killed the Hydra, he dipped his arrows in the blood and it made them toxic. This boy had a lion's head, a goat's head, and a snake's tail with the head of a snake on the end. But the goat head specifically breathed fire. It was one of the most well-known traits about the Chimera was that its goat head spewed a torrent of flame like a modern-day flamethrower.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Mm-hmm.
when I read this and when you read yours, the wording they used for that does that not like eerie you out just a little bit? Because what would cause someone from that day and age to know how fire reacts when you push it through pressure? Because I'm sure there was castle fires and large buildings went on fire and they probably saw weird things happen with fire, but I don't know enough about like the technology of the time to have projectile aimed. I don't know how to word this aside from like pressurized flame.
We're going to get to James's conspiracy theories about that later.
The right.
Yeah, no, and that's the interesting thing, because to what we know, the only things they were really able to do was forge metals. And that doesn't necessarily come with a pressurized stream. Like, sure, air pressure in the bellows would
make a bigger flame, but they didn't really like focus it.
They never aimed it. No, not as far as I'm aware.
I don't know. If anybody out there seeing this video now or years in the future, let us know.
Yeah. So, with that, we're going to move into the medieval period of dragons now that we've covered all of the basics for what a Drakon was in Greek mythology and what it now turns into when we come into the age of Christianity and the Middle Ages. So that first one, the Technicolor peacock-looking bitch.
Hang on, we gotta zoom out. Too much zoom. The zoom is too powerful.
Too much zoom.
Dehance.
Now.
I'm glad you got that.
I get everything, man. So this particular picture, I do want to cover something while we're looking at it,
Okay.
because there is something that is somewhat of a theory among anthropologists about where the dragon came from, where the image of the medieval dragon specifically came from. And one thing I want to put to note, evolutionarily speaking, there are 3 animals that regularly prey on primates. That is snakes, birds, and big cats. Now look at the body plan of this boy. You clearly have what almost looks like an elongated lion's head, with mane included, the legs of a big cat, the bodily proportions and tail of a snake, and those big old wings. Obviously, it's starting to come into more of an image in and of itself, where this creature is starting to find a life of its own. But this is where you will find your classical fire-breathing, flying, giant, scary lizard boy that comes down upon a castle or a village or a damsel in distress. Not to use, stereotypes, but, it is kind of the whole fucking vibe. It's these where you find that this is another chimera. Because, the catch-all term of chimera is just a beast that is comprised of multiple other animals, right? So at this point in time, and bear in mind, I don't know exactly when this picture was painted. I don't even remember who actually painted it. I apologize, people. It's public access now. But it almost seems to me that there is more of an evolution that comes to dragons over time. If we pull up the next image, actually, this
Yeah.
would be this would be what most would consider their classical wyvern, where it is 2 legs, 2 wings. But when you look at that, that doesn't actually fit what most people would think a wyvern looks like. It is very simply a big slithering beastie with arms and wings. More snake-like than anything involving a bird at the end of the day. Most of these end up looking more like snakes. Um,
Yeah, I was gonna say
but
it definitely. I mean, yeah, you've got the upper body there, but the upper body is only so much of it. That's just literally you just slapped on a couple of pecs and arms on a winged snake.
yes. Now, what I do want to kind of transition into is talking about how these dragon slaying legends sort of came to be. Like I stated before, many of these myths come with the idea of a hero related to storms fighting off something that is keeping away the rain, that is keeping away water, a precious resource that needs to be destroyed or taken out. Um, in the Middle Ages, it shifts a bit because dragons are now seen as a symbol of evil. Very, very specifically, because even in the Bible, there are references to dragons. A lot of references to dragons, in fact. The flaming serpent, the devil taking the form of a dragon in various iterations, taking the form of a snake or a serpent in various iterations. Um, Very much linked to the destruction of Christianity. And this is where, over time, dragons used to guard things in Greek myth. Not only do they guard things, this is when you first find their hoarding behaviors, where it is actually linked to an internal sense of greed. The idea that they are covetous, that they want what others don't have, and they will take it by force. The idea that they will steal not only gold and jewels, but livestock and people, to the point where you end up finding these legends of dragons requiring tribute from neighboring cities that it is decided that, fuck it, I don't want to hunt it myself anymore. There's a bunch of perfectly good flesh bags over here that'll do exactly what the fuck I say. Leading to many of the stories of saints and knights coming in to rectify the behavior with the light of God, right? Very specifically, if we go to our next image, the most famous of these legends being Saint George and the Dragon. Now there are a lot of different tellings of this story. Once we actually pull the image up, the image that you'll see again is far more wyvern than what people think of when they think dragon. But that is still a motherfucking dragon. I'm gonna drive this point home with every image that I see that has fucking 2 wings and 2 legs or no legs or fucking whatever. That is a dragon, right? Now
James, your doctor
specifically,
calls, your BPMs is high.
what?
Your doctor calls, said your blood pressure's high for some reason.
Now, very specifically, this dragon was living around water, which again is a common theme among a lot of these dragons is water. Even in ancient Greece, a lot of these creatures lived in swamps or very like lakes or ponds or various areas that included a large body of water. This was no exception. It was living near a cave that was hollowed out by the water itself, even though you don't necessarily see it in that image, and I don't know why not. And essentially, as the story goes, originally the dragon was just stealing livestock, and then it decided that it didn't want to work for it. So the people were being subjugated and basically agreed to the deal of 2 sheep per day would be fed to the dragon in order to keep it at bay. But, you know, over time, that's going to become an issue when you don't have enough sheep to supply. So then it became sheep and a man. Not only did it become sheep and a man, but once they started running out of people, they started drawing lots in order to figure out who was going to be sacrificed to the big scaly bastard. And one day, the king of this area was, unfortunately, drew the lot for his own daughter.
Oh.
And while he pleaded and begged for the people not to send his daughter out, even going so far as to offer all of his riches in order to save his own daughter, they unfortunately turned it down, and the daughter was put out for the sacrifice nonetheless. Now, St. George was able to come through and subdued the dragon rather quickly, having somebody say a prayer for him and saying a prayer himself before encountering and causing the battle with the dragon. But he didn't kill it there, and this is where we sort of get back into the Tarrasque territory when we talked about in the last episode, where he captured the dragon and brought it to the town and said, "I will kill it if you convert." And I mean, you know, dude who says God just helped him get this dragon under a leash. Well, fuck, that guy don't seem too bad. So after converting and erecting a statue of the Virgin Mary immediately in the spot where the battle had occurred, St. George slew the dragon. But this became a running theme where there are multiple different saints over many, many years that were seen as destroying the dragon. Now, this is where it comes to a bit of contention, okay? And even as a Christian, I'm going to admit this. We were fucking terrible people. We did a lot of bad shit. Slaying the dragon ended up becoming synonymous with purging an area of pagan belief. Over time, if a saint, somebody was able to bring enough conversions from an area and rid the pagan religion, that was considered slaying a dragon, which is why we have so many of these legends. But, that being said, there aren't always bad stories about dragons in even medieval mythology. If you want to pull up the next image, Brandon.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my. Looks like these two ones are unfortunately being treated like livestock or something.
Actually, it's far different than you think.
Oh, okay.
So, if the image is up, I don't
Yep,
think
we're
the game. No. Okay, cool. This is actually the Welsh tale of two dragons that fought one another for supremacy of their land. Now, again, this is very different than what it is led to believe. The red dragon is meant to symbolize the English, the British, whereas the white is meant to represent the Anglo-Saxons, which was the predominant pagan belief system at the time. The red dragon came to defeat the white dragon and save the Welsh people, which is why you see a red dragon on the Welsh flag. If you actually want to pull that image up as well.
Bring her out a bit. There we go.
So again, another tale of defeating a dragon, only this time it's with another dragon, symbolizing the power that both sides had at the time, and yet Britain was still able to win out. Obviously there is a lot of contention with a lot of these things, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's okay though.
Especially since dragons, again, have been synonymous with so many different symbols over the many years and cultures that it's been around. Obviously, there's going to be some disagreements and symbolism within them, especially when it comes to the Christians trying to use something for their own ends. Now, we've made it to the end of most of the lore dumping. what I kind of want to do now is I want us to look at what do we see from many of these creatures that we may be able to incorporate into the D&D dragon mythos. And Brandon, I actually want to start with you and see what your thoughts are on this so far.
So mine would be that I think, what if we took the aspects such as broadened what was categorized as a dragon in a D&D world and use that like much in a way that as humans in our real world we are telling these stories of things we don't understand and creatures we see that are killing us, we don't get it. What if we did the same thing in D&D world, just broadened up a bit, and you went to a village, oh yeah, there's a dragon attacking us every day, and da 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 da, and the adventure's like, oh god, can we handle this? Can we do this? And it turned out to be something else completely different.
Mm-hmm.
But it's their big scary creature. I think that'd be like, I have a lot more, but that's the first thing on the mind was just really. I don't want to say take away the fantasy of your games. I don't want to say remove the fun, magical nature of your games. But also remember that, look at that commoner stat block. Look at the common person your adventures are going to run across. They have average intelligence. We're all of average intelligence. If we see something we don't understand, we're going to have a hard time describing it.
Mm-hmm.
Add the mom mentality to that, and your intelligence decreases by like 5.
Mass hysteria. Yep.
Mass hysteria. So now you have this whole, kingdom or village that's claiming they're under siege by a dragon. It's awful. It looks like this, but it only comes at night. And then like put in little like things your adventurers can hear about. Like, okay, so things aren't adding up. It only comes at night. Oh, one said it's got 2 wings. One said this all with 4 wings. One said this all just floating with no wings. Like, what are we fighting here? Then you can really build like tension. Like, okay, are they going to stay and fight it? Am I going to make this a really fun fight? Are they going to try and flee and I make it something completely different? Like, you just broadening what the common person would call a dragon as just a generic, big, scary thing that potentially flies, I think could be so much fun. Because there's so many other creatures in D&D you can just grab and really play it up, essentially. I mean, think about it. If I was a dragon, right? If I was a dragon, but I didn't want anybody to know I was a dragon. But I'm still hungry. Still greedy. What can I do? And think like that. Really put yourself in that position. Like, get outside of your own mind and try to pretend, or and vice versa. I'm a commoner. I woke up one night because I was too drunk, had to go pee out in a corner, and I get out there and I'm peeing and something swoops by in the sky, big, powerful, then a building explodes. What do you think it was? Oh. You're muted.
Anyway, one of my big things, right, is the fact that dragons in ancient mythology did have that ability of shaping the land around them in a way that was detrimental. Now, a lot of these dragons can already do that, all of them, essentially.
Yeah.
White dragons bring an entire blanket of snow and cold, and in some cases, ancient white dragons can blot out the fucking sun with snowstorms, which makes pretty much anything not suited for that habitat just easy fucking pickings.
Yeah.
But what you also have is the green dragons that are able to cause mass overgrowth. You have the black dragons that bring a rancid decay with them in any area that they're in. Blue dragons, a little bit to a lesser extent, can cause sandstorms and drought. And I mean, red dragons just basically cause a fucking explosion wherever the fuck they walk. I mean, literally. Like, think the monstrous nightmare from fucking How to Train Your Dragon, and it's just walking around on fire.
I had an idea.
Mm-hmm.
What if you wanted to change that to where instead remove the physical changes, and if a dragon wanted to infiltrate and run a kingdom or a country, the castle area and the town around the castle was instead changed in mentality to match that of the dragon's wills. To where if you were, obviously this would be a little more narrowed down to those dragons that had that kind of cunningness or that level of intelligence. Like the white dragon would probably be not so great for that. But like if you had a green dragon and they started ruling or being in a position of, they made themselves out to be, they took the place of the advisor, then all of a sudden more schemers started showing up to help them. More people that were just maybe even just they just thought differently now. They were just a little more off kilter upstairs.
Yeah. Not to cut you off, you can keep talking. Give me 1 second. I have people right outside my door and they can pick up on my mic and I could just tell, and I don't want it to be an issue. Give me 1 second.
Okay. So anyways, I think that's always a great thing you can do, GMs, is don't be afraid to look at the stat blocks given to you. And if you know something that's out of, human history or the lore of these creatures, feel free to find your best way to mix it in there. I mean, there are dozens of things. You could easily, even if you wanted a dragon to take hold of a castle or a town, but you didn't want these physical changes to happen, you could make the influence differently, such as you could just make it a little more, oh, hello, Luna, how are you? It's going great. We're just doing a little bit of a dragon lore discussion and enjoying that so far. Hey, bud, welcome back.
There we go.
I was just talking to chat a bit.
Okay, what are they saying? Because
they said hi and how's it going, so it's going great.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. We're doing well. But yes, being able to shape the terrain to its will specifically is a very interesting idea in and of itself, and I do like that. In fact, I think the green dragon does something like that, where it literally like funnels you through a bunch of mazes to its lair.
Yeah, it does. I was just like expanding upon that. Like, what if you had like a red dragon that was just a little bit different than a normal mentality? Still, obviously, greedy, vile, horrible thing, but wanted to play the or no, take that back. The black scale dragon wanted to truly play the long game.
Okay.
And went into a city and a castle and had found a way to, instead of releasing this horrific decay and toxicity to the area around it, it decayed and brought toxicity to the minds of the citizens. They wanted to gamble more. They wanted to drink more. They wanted to work less. They wanted to steal.
That is actually really interesting, and I really fucking like that. Honestly, but you could also make it that, like, what if it decided instead of a swamp, it wanted to make a layer into the sewer system? Or wanted to make a layer in the water supply?
And that would have been a great way to, like, assist the dragon in covering it, because it could really even be like, that would be great. Imagine that. You walk into you're the GM, and you describe to your party, all right, you walk into this new city, everything seems nice, there's a little more gambling, a little more publicly, a little more drinking, but it's a pretty nice city. And then you got that rogue, well, I'm going to go make my contact at the underbelly. Oh, interesting. Roll an investigation check. Let them roll that nat 20, and oh, I rolled a 35. Fantastic. You find no contacts. What do you mean? There's no underbelly. The sewer system is immaculately well maintained and guarded. Because that dragon's got to get those things out some way.
Oh, it's fucking chills, man. It's fucking chills. I love it. Fuck.
Thinking of fun, unique ways to really make your characters be like, oh, why is this happening? That's the things I push for, is different ways to do that. Because anybody can be like, as you're walking through the town, you see there's a fresh gallows that is completely filled up with 10 fresh bodies. Okay, this place does a lot of shit. It has a different tone than the rogue can't find his underbelly contacts.
It's beautiful. Fucking beautiful.
Your cleric tries to find their exact temple of they're like a well-known worshiper. There's none here of that specific one.
Another thing you could always do as well is like with dragons fulfilling such a role in much mythology of being these end-all be-all giant beings of just pure and utter terror and immaculate size. You could realistically fuck around with your campaign a bit and have them form almost a role similar to like what we talked about with the Tarask, where these are embodiments of nature, which is something that we actually did in Ashurma, where like if you kill a dragon, yeah, great, but that's a nuke waiting to blow at that point. I
like that concept a lot, and that's really good. Like, that's a great spin on it. Like, you could just have it to where, if you didn't want to do a Tarask, you could have it to where, I mean, you've got enough kinds of dragons. You could pick your favorite 4 elements or 5 elements, whatever, and have your pillars, essentially your pillars of reality, and make it something huge and terrifying. Like, your adventurers wake up one day, they're traveling, and then they get news like there was a massive tsunami wave at the coastal cities, and all of them got knocked out. And they come to find out, the blue dragon was obliterated.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now the pillar of your elemental stability of water is gone. Yeah.
That's real fucking, like, it's beautiful, and you could really fuck with that a lot.
Yeah.
Something I forgot to touch on too, is, and this could be an interesting mechanic for games, but the Legend of Fafnir. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
So the Legend of Fafnir is a Nordic or Germanic telling of a tale of, I believe the warrior is Siegfried. I might be incorrect.
I may know.
But essentially what happened is there was a dwarven kingdom, right? And the Loki was like staying there for a time. And the 3 sons were known to like take various animal forms and go hunting in their various favorite places, right?
Yeah.
In one of these spaces was a river. Now, Loki is rather well known to fuck around with rivers a lot. But one of these children were known to turn into an otter.
Okay.
Loki, hunting and thinking nothing of it, kills an otter at the river. And brings it forth to the king as like a tribute, as a prize won by the river, until they all immediately realized, oh shit, we know that one.
Yeah, we know that otter.
We know that otter. So as
you could say tribute, it was a odd moment.
Yeah, as tribute, Loki had to essentially bring them. I believe it was a certain weight of gold. Something's weight in gold. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was a lot of gold. Needed to be a lot of treasure, right? And he ends up finding this other dude and taking that treasure for himself. But the man said, don't take the ring. The ring is very important to me. Please don't take the ring. Loki, being told ring. What he can't do, takes the ring.
The ring. Yeah.
He cursed that ring before it was taken.
Oh.
That whoever should wear it will be brought misfortune.
Oh, shit.
Now that ring was the very thing that brought that fortune to that man in the beginning. So it is now fucking just reversed. Killed of its ability.
Yeah.
So he brings this gold and he brings this ring and he gives it to the king. Over time, the brothers begin to envy their father. envy his wealth. And so they both decide to kill him and take both the gold and the ring for themselves. Fafnir is one of these children. Fafnir and his brother are able to take out the king, but as soon as Fafnir puts on the ring, he turns himself into a massive dragon to guard his hoard.
Oh. Okay.
So, dragons being the embodiment of greed over time, this dragon takes this hoard and is guarding it with all of his might. But the brother ends up commissioning Siegfried. I think it was Siegfried. It might be somebody else, but I think it was Siegfried. Who he essentially was like, I need you to slay this dragon so I can take my shit back.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, I guess I'll help you take your shit back. And he gets like some advice from Odin to like dig multiple holes in the ground, hide in one so that way he could stick it in the vulnerable underbelly and then the blood would drain into the rest of the holes. And he kills Fafnir. Fafnir then warns him that his brother will stab him in the back. What he does is he takes the heart from Fafnir and he drinks of the blood that was already in the ground.
Yeah.
Now, the blood of Fafnir has given him the ability to speak to the birds. And the birds come down to warn him that the brother is going to stab him in the back and take all the gold and take the ring. He starts preparing the heart to be eaten because that's what the brother has asked for. He wants to eat the heart of this dragon.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is his brother, so this is kind of like fucking like cannibalism. But we're not going to talk about that.
He was a dragon.
So Siegfried, knowing this, eats half of the heart.
Ooh.
And then kills the brother. And he gets off scot-free. Pretty much. That's the end of the legend. But that is something that you can use in a D&D campaign. Think about it. That one player that's always haggling for prices, always getting more and more and more gold,
my gosh, that
and
would
obsessed with gold.
Great. What if you need to? I don't want to say this. What if you want to give an appropriate item to an appropriate haggler? We'll put it that way.
You're really frugal and you really want your gold. You're really fucking greedy.
Yeah, but what you do is you just say, let them win that investigation check or let them roll low. Do it on a roll check. Do it on a low roll and have the merchant be like, okay, that's a fair point. But I'll tell you what, since you're so good at negotiating, I'll throw in this ring. And you throw in the ring. You let them wear the ring, and you don't tell them what it is. If it's, if they try to identify it, it's a cursed item. And I know Identify says it can reveals curses, but you don't have to let it know that. The Luke Goblin is screaming. Ah! But no, give them the ring, and just over time, roll your own checks for them behind the scenes. Roll your own checks to see how they notice things, and give them fun abilities with a ring. Call the ring of coin counting, to where every time you see a pile of gold or coins, you immediately know exactly how many are in it. Or every time you see a coin purse, you exactly know how much is inside of it. Let them have something like that. Why not? Make it 10 within 10 feet. And just don't let them know what it really does. And over time, just roll your own wisdom saving throws behind the GM screen. And then be like, hey, you're not sure why, but you sense in this particular direction some really good treasure and gold. You just have a sense for it. And you want it. You're muted.
Me? Me personally, I would rather have them roll the wisdom saving throws and just not tell them what it's for, because I think that's a little bit more of
No, they're gonna know. They're gonna know. That's why I did the first ones by yourself.
You do the first couple of them by yourself.
Yeah, and then eventually over time, when they hear this sound, that's a nat 20. Oh shit.
Now here's the interesting thing about how you're describing like being able to know the worth of something just by looking at it. That's specifically an ability of red dragons.
Ah, wow.
Red dragons can look at something super fucking expensive to a single copper piece and know immediately what it's worth.
That, Meg, you know that dice.
Ooh. I love it. I love it so much. Oh wow, that's a fucking chunker.
Yeah. This right here, this is my dice of fate. I roll this for very important decisions. This is also my character death saving throws, because if you're at my table, you know you don't roll your death saving throws. I do.
It's a good thing that I know you're fair, because any other DM, that'd be a red flag to me. Now, there's not much we can really add from the mythos to the dragons themselves in terms of abilities, because they already kind of have them.
They already did a great job of that. Yeah, and that's
they
one of the
really
things we talk about, is that what did we take from the human stories throughout the years we've been on this earth, and how did they transition to tabletop gaming? And the way that transition has been incredibly well done. Like,
especially for the dragons.
I'm sure we're going to come across some things where we're going to redo this whole stat block.
Oh, just wait till we get to the fucking Gorgons and Medusa. Like, that's going to be a double episode where we do both.
Yeah, that's going to be something. But no, this was done very well. I can't really think of too many things to add besides those couple of twists. Like, if you don't want the elemental change, think of how a dragon could just instead choose to change the culture around it, change the creatures around it to, especially, if you're in a highly populated world, like if you're in like modern day Earth, you want to run a modern campaign. Well, how do I incorporate dragons? Well, here you go. They don't actually change the terrain anymore. They change the mentality. They change the culture.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much good to end off on the homebrew speculation. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into the pop culture and look at a bunch of fucking random things that we fucking love about dragons in the media. First thing before we get to any of the images, because I forgot to grab this, but I just thought about it right now. The Dragonology books, or any of the fucking ology books that are out there. Dragonology is one of those like. Fuck. So there was an entire line of books that was known as the ology books.
I'm pulling them
right
now.
Yeah. So they would have
goodness.
descriptions of different species of dragons, and there was like hundreds of them, and they didn't make the distinction of any of the. They were all dragons, despite one's called a wyvern or one's called an amphitheater. They're all fucking dragons.
That is. I'm gonna have to get this as a present for somebody I know.
You're gonna have to. It came with like little samples and like hidden flips that you could pull out, and there was like notes.
Yeah.
There was a cipher for how to write in dragon.
I know who would like this.
Tongue. Then there was like different skin patches and stuff that you could like run your fingers across, and it was like, oh, you're touching the specimen skin of a dragon. Obviously, shit, but like it was still like, the fucking 12-year-old me had a blast. But yeah, but let's get into some of these fun ones. Do you mind pulling up the first of those images, the one with the woman with the white hair on the back of the big old fucker?
Yep, hang on, gotta zoom out because it's a big boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, we have Game of Thrones. Now everybody and their mother, it's like, those aren't dragons, those are wyverns. Fuck off. They are the size of a Boeing 747 times 2. Just fucking deal with it.
Again, James, before your pacemaker goes off, this is just reel it in, big guy. Just remember,
I know.
It all comes down to the verbiage used from where the culture and the lore came from.
That's true. That is very true. I'm just saying.
Let it go. We got it.
Anyways, but yeah, the dragons in that series are very interesting, especially their downfall. One of the big things, especially with the new series that came out that was like specifically about the Targaryens, I can't remember what the fuck the name of it was, but how like the dragons themselves were becoming inbred along with the family and all of this other shit, and it basically led to the entire downfall of that kingdom and their proud dragon riders and all this other shit.
Yeah.
But you know, just big fucking scary boys, and obviously, again, it's an accurate dragon.
That's
Don't fucking come for me.
That's just fire breath out the window. Okay, just forget it even has that.
Yeah.
Size, power, speed, all of
Yeah.
that alone. It doesn't even need the fire breath. It
No.
is just a large, muscular, powerful creature. And what's the scariest thing about these kinds of creatures is what I call the silverback gorilla theory.
Okay.
How strong is a silverback gorilla?
I believe. Well, I mean, I could tell you, but I have a feeling you have.
I have a
Something in
smart-ass-
mind.
I have a smart ass response.
What's your smart ass response?
You don't know. Because a silverback gorilla, as large and powerful as it is, it doesn't work out.
Mm.
Because think about the whole range of humanity. How we have people who are large, muscular, powerful because they work at it every day. And you have your average person. So look at the lifestyle of the silverback gorilla. Yeah, it moves a lot, but it's not of enough intelligent mentality to push itself to do. Imagine if they did like pull-ups, push-ups, and squats.
Well, they don't get a lot of protein in their diet, so that would probably just suck for them.
Yeah, exactly. So just trying to put that in the image of the dragons that we have in video games.
Yeah.
They are, a lot of times I feel they're just severely underrepresented when it comes to the raw, just muscular power they have.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
if you
exactly.
catch a claw from a dragon, I understand you're adventurers and it's a high fantasy game, and I get that, and I will never take that from you. But if you put pound for pound, you put a claw through an adventurer, that dude's bye-bye. It's going to be hard to survive that.
Fuck!
Yeah. Shy
You want to
of,
play a game of whack fuck?
Yeah, shy of, quasi, demi, full-blooded deities, you're not getting up from that.
Nah.
But anyways.
But yeah, no, I agree that like they far misrepresent a lot of the power of dragons a lot of times. But here's a character that nobody will ever underestimate the power of. And this is from my personal favorite version of this character. Because with those of you, before The Hobbit came out as a trilogy by, what was it, James Patterson? I can't remember his name.
Peter Jackson.
Peter Jackson. Gee, I literally turned into Dionysus from the Percy Jackson series.
you.
Peter Johnson.
I'm here for you.
Peter Jackson. There we go. Who the fuck is James Peterson? No. Anyway.
I don't know. Your next character, I don't know.
God. Here's Smaug from the 1977 animated Hobbit movie, where all of us bargain bin kids got to see Smaug for the first time.
That is a scary, because just thinking like how old I would have been watching that movie, that's a scary creature.
Yeah. Yeah. He's fucking angry.
That's right up there with the Nothing.
Right? This dude, like, claws of spears, wings of hurricanes, breath of death. Like, the motherfucker doesn't let you forget that he's big and scary. And obviously you have the horde mentality. If a single piece of gold is missing, a dragon knows it. This motherfucker definitely noticed that single piece of treasure that Bilbo tried to snag. He is the epitome of what a dragon should represent in a fantasy world. Fucking terrifying. Now from that, we're gonna go to the cutest little button of a dragon. Obviously, the fan favorite series of a lot of nerds and a lot of fantasy heads out there, How to Train Your Dragon. We have Toothless.
Toothless.
And very any of the dragons from that series could have been in here. My personal favorite is the Death Song. If you haven't heard of that one, it is fucking haunting. But do your own research for that one, because honestly, like, just watch the series, man. The series is actually really fucking good on Netflix if you just give it a chance. But obviously not your typical dragon mythos that you would find in your average fantasy setting, but like, you know, you have your giant tyrant dragons like the Red Death or the Bewilder Beast, all of your alpha class dragons. But these ones honestly kind of feel more similar to some of our older versions of dragons, where they weren't necessarily giant beasts. They were smaller, more animal-like in their functions. In fact, most of the pictures that we saw, if you really look at some of those older pictures, like, you know, like you said before, the one with the red and the white dragon, they look like livestock. They don't look very big at all. The one that St. George went up against was also rather diminutive compared to what we would think of as a dragon. A lot smaller. But that being said, they're still powerful. They still fly. They still have fucking scary breath weapons. Those motherfuckers have the breath weapons of just like, don't go near it. Don't try. Just no.
It's a breath weapon.
You've got some breath weapon is don't. When you can throw a plasma ball out of your face, that's a problem. But let's go to something that may not look as big or powerful, but most certainly is one of my favorite movies of all time, Reign of Fire, baby. These motherfuckers. Oh my. You want to talk about an apocalypse movie that really just, like, gives you the vibe of, like, oh, we are fucked? Just throw in a hive of dragons. Wake up an ancient slumbering beast beneath the ground, and then all of his 500 cousins that breed like rabbits and fucking just destroy the world. This movie, like, I loved it just solely for the fact of, like, why? Who came up with this? Who allowed this to happen?
Who signed off on this script?
That's what I'm saying. Like obviously it's a bit of a hokey movie, but it is still a fucking, like, royal ball of a time. I especially like the fact that, like, they're like, motherfucker, no, a meteor didn't kill the dinosaurs, they did.
They did. Yeah.
Just showing you that, like, yeah, they may not look as powerful as you might think, but they are numerous and they will burn everything. And then just go back into hibernation like nothing ever happened. But yeah, very simple movie, but very, very cool execution. I really enjoyed it, and if you get the chance, you should fucking watch it.
Absolutely.
But let's revisit an old friend. An old friend, the big scary red boy, because obviously Dragon's Dogma. You want to talk about the epitome of a red dragon being put into a different media? That is it. That motherfucker right there. That big ass boy. And actually, the idea behind Dragon's Dogma is almost very much akin to the Fafnir legend, if you think about it, because, like, isn't it that like you're chosen by the dragon, and then, like, you have to go and fight it, and if you kill the damn thing, you turn into the dragon? Or was that just the anime?
I don't know. I would need to. I don't actually know.
I
like...
at least from what I saw in the anime, the dude who slays the dragon ends up becoming the next dragon in the next incarnation.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't play a ton of the game. I just know the anime.
Yeah, fair. But yeah, so he like obviously like the choice that you're given of like, are you going to hold this grudge to the point where you become the thing you were hunting?
Yeah.
Like that is a metal fucking plot if I've ever fucking heard it.
And I know
I would fuck.
we're talking about dragons. I know, and I like that we're talking about dragons this much. But let's take that concept real quick and just have a quick sidebar about it.
Okay. Okay.
What if you applied that same mentality to a hag, a devil, a demon, to where
Ooh.
somewhere along the way, that rogue, that paladin, that wizard, whoever it is that chose that in their background,
Mm-hmm.
they get to a point like the what is it? Well, no, what's that other big movie? Pirates of the Caribbean, the Davy Jones,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Davy Jones
yeah.
paradox, to where are you going to hunt this? I'm not going to narrow it down to a creature. Are you going? Is your character so driven to kill this creature that when you find the lore piece, it like really nails in like put some great lore behind it. Like, you know, there is one, there will always be one.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Even that simplest of a line you could put into a lore piece and really make them think about it and put a little more tidbits where they realize whatever kills the one must take
Will
its
become.
place.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a really interesting story that you can apply to so many different creatures, and especially to like something like a dragon. Fuck, bro.
Yeah, come back to this now. You apply it to a dragon, pick a red dragon, and they
Mm-hmm.
start hunting. That's just the lore of the dragons. Like, maybe, you know, that's how the dragons keep themselves going. That's their rebirth process, is to where they don't
Mm-hmm.
actually have eggs and hatchlings. They just wait for someone to have enough spite and anger to kill them. Oh, thank you for all your
Mm-hmm.
spite and anger. Now let my soul infuse into yours as I'm dying and super intensify to the 100th power.
Yeah. 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 Dragon's Dogma, a great paradox in and of itself. But we can't talk about dragons without talking about one of the most famous fucking dragons. Alduin, the World Eater. That fucking boy. That big dog on the fence, just sitting there and waiting. The World Eater. That almost fulfills like what I was talking about with Nidhogg earlier. The idea that this boy will just eat the fucking world, or even Jormungandr, the world serpent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like mythical dragons to the point of godhood, because he is a god. He is
Yeah.
considered a dragon god. Greed to the point of voracious hunger. Man's is a threat to all in existence. It's
Galactus
a
was
problem.
a dragon.
That would be, yeah, actually, that'd be fucking cool. Okay, listen, if any of you do art, I need to see Galactus as a dragon. I need to see it. So if you can do it, find me, DM me, and fucking, yeah. But yeah, so like I love the idea of Alduin. I love the idea of all the other dragons in the Elder Scrolls as well. They're all seen as very powerful beings. Obviously you have like your more common dragons and your more rare ones that are going to do different things and have different abilities and whatnot. And some that understand that their place in the world is not a good one. I can't remember the name of the dragon for the life of me, but there was one where it was like an older dragon that knew about Alduin and told the Dragonborn about Alduin and how like this is a bad guy. I'm just warning you. Like I don't want this, but like it's gonna happen. So I definitely love the Elder Scrolls for the way that they do their portrayal of dragons. But we've obviously there's so many more references to dragons in pop culture that we cannot put them all in here. We'll put a few more in the ends of the other
Absolutely.
videos that we're going to be doing on dragons as a whole. Dragines.
Are those hatchlings? They're called the dragons. Dragons.
But now here's where y'all are gonna think I'm crazy, because we're gonna get into the speculative part of this episode of what do we think people saw when it came to dragons. Where did the lore come from? So Brandon, I'll let you start this first before I give my theories.
Where did the lore come from? Again, you have to really, and I don't want to say that like our ancestors were idiots. They weren't. They understood things we probably have forgotten. I mean, there's a great line from Castlevania where it's from one of the vampires, and it's like, humans always forget, vampires don't. So I mean, we couldn't write. We could fill another Library of Exandria with the things we've forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
But that aside, what did we see? That's a fantastic question. It could have been a number of things. I mean, am I going to be out here and be like, yeah, the course dragons are real, da 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 da. No one knows. No one knows. But there are things out there that you just can't explain rationally. And how much time has passed for a thing to be seen, become a story, become legend, and then never heard of again. I mean, just to help give an example of this, like, if you went to your nearest high school right now and you showed them what a floppy disk was, they would just say, oh, cool, you 3D printed the save symbol. That's what they would say.
Man, I'm not even old enough to remember floppy disks, and I get that.
In a span of not even 30 years.
Yeah.
So imagine what we had to have seen and experienced and try to communicate via story hundreds of thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell you what we saw. I don't know. Do I believe there's other things out there besides the human race? Of course. There's too big of a world, too big of a reality. The Matrix simulation is too large.
I was actually just watching the new Matrix movie. I don't know how to feel about it.
But I don't have really a good answer. I mean, you could speculate on the terrace because, maybe they just saw, a large creature in the middle of a night, like a bear coming out of a river, and the way it was, the hairs was soaked down. It looked like a rock. That's where the spines came from. But the way the stories retell the accounting of dragons is too specific to just write it off. Now, could it just have started as a farmer's tale and then grew and grew and grew? Of course, we're humans. We have always wanted to tell grand, great stories. Because sitting around a campfire, and I say this every single time, and I know you're tired of hearing it, but the longest form of communication and entertainment we had was stories around a campfire or stories in a theater.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give you a couple of different options to pick from, and then I'm going to tell you what I believe. Y'all got to think I'm crazy. Obviously,
think you are.
Exactly. So, bare and dry, you have probably the most prevalent answer to this question, where it's like a bunch of people found a bunch of dinosaur bones, and they were like, we don't know what the fuck this is. I guess it was just a big fucking scary thing. Which, I mean, yeah, this is plausible. You have the evolutionary theory, which I stated earlier is, the three main predators of primates and mankind before being gifted with sentience and being able to create tools and become better than all the other animals, which is a combination of birds, snakes, and big cats. Specifically big cats, by the way. The primates are just like fucking delicious to big cats, apparently, which makes me wonder why the fuck we keep their miniature versions in our house. But I still love my cat.
Had long pig? I mean, it's great.
No, I'll eat your liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti. It doesn't put the sound in. Damn it! I actually
heard
do
it.
that really well.
I heard it.
Did you?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Okay. So, um, there's that. Also, you know, at the end of the day, there could just be the whole idea of misidentification over hundreds and thousands of years. Then there's my answer. Fuck yeah, these things existed. Are you kidding me? We have dragon legends from every corner of the earth with barely minor variations. To be quite frank, some are longer, some are skinnier, some have wings, some don't. How many creatures do we know about that have so many different fucking subspecies out in the fucking grand old world? Like, fuck, big cats. There's like fucking 60 different fucking kinds of big cat. And that's not including the variations of those specific species of big cat. Like, how many fucking variations of tiger do we have? How many variations of lions did we have before, you know, everything decided to die?
Yeah.
People. But truly, and truly I say this as seriously as I can, there are things we don't know.
What happened to your camera?
There are... Did my camera cut?
Yeah. Is it fine? Is it fine on your side?
It's fine on my side. Hold on.
Perfect.
Motherfuckers. Anyways, again, only minor variations in all of these legends. And again, every corner of the world, even like First Nations in America, the indigenous populations have stories about big creatures that are dragon-esque. There is Aboriginal stories of the Dreamtime in Australia with the rainbow serpent and all of these other various creatures. Fuck. There's literally so many possibilities. Dude, like, I don't know what to tell you.
Add
All right.
another layer to your argument or your statement?
Yes.
Not your
yes,
argument,
please.
but your point. I'll add another layer to this.
Yeah.
The pyramid paradox.
Uh-huh.
Aside from the fact that obviously a pyramid is the best way to stack a bunch of stones together, how come they look the same over the entire world? There is very little deviation.
Yeah. Yep.
Pangea.
Listen, I'm saying this right now. I fully believe at one point creatures like this existed on the planet. Whether it is in the form that they take in all of our various depictions or maybe even something completely different. But I 110% believe that something like this is possible on our Earth.
They are walking amongst us, just all shapeshifted.
That would be fucking hilarious.
They're all humans.
That would be hilarious. That's where the lizard people conspiracy comes from. Think about it.
Moving on.
Barack Obama's eyes turn into slits. They're serpents.
Moving
I'm kidding. Obviously, I'm joking on that side of things. But 100%, I do believe that dragons at one point on our Earth could have existed. And I don't even just think it's possible. I think it's probable. Even for the idea of like poison spitting or fire breathing is not out of the realms of possibility in our natural world. Things like the bombardier beetle exist that shoot fucking intensely hot fluids out of its fucking ass at people.
there's that. There's the dinosaur that did it.
Dinosaur that breathed fire?
That had the frill neck and spit the...
That is a Jurassic Park thing? That is
real.
not acting.
It's real.
In your heart, it's real.
In my heart, it's real.
Well, like, you know, venom spitting cobras, you have...
Well, you know what? Here's another great argument. Another great... not argument. I keep saying argument. Another great point to add.
Yeah.
That they could have existed. Look at things like the mantis shrimp.
The power of the sun in a punch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nature made that.
Mm-hmm.
Man didn't make that. Nature made that.
And again, at the end of the day, there's a lot of things that we just don't know. Y'all
just
can
don't
call
know.
me crazy. You can call me crazy. I don't care. I'ma still look to the skies and wait for the big fucking scary lizard to come down. I'm waiting.
But your name's not crazy. Why'd I call you crazy?
Anyway. Anyways, I think that's officially
that
covered
wraps it.
all the stuff about Chromatic Dragons. That ended a lot quicker than I thought it would. But
That's
you know
alright.
what? That's okay. You know what? I'm gonna turn this over to the chat. What do you think? What are some ideas that you guys have had?
We've got.
Is there anything?
Let me look over everything. What do you guys think about the Chromatic Dragons? And let us know, like, some of your Dragon Trojan Horse. Derper 3, go on.
Dragon Trojan Horse. That's a fucking dope idea, actually.
So, like, what? The Trojan horse is a dragon, the dragon's inside the Trojan horse. That's a big Trojan horse.
I would fucking laugh my ass off of just like a Trojan horse being pushed
Dragon's
into a
inside the
city,
horse.
and then all of a sudden,
Maybe that's what the pyramids are.
that would be insane. Well, Egypt had dragon legends too. Don't forget about that. They had
I
APEP.
know, yeah, they did.
That would be fucking hilarious. That's like you walk in with like a Trojan horse, and it's like, gentlemen, let's be civil about this. I don't want to kill you. It's like, oh, and you think you could kill us? Oh no, I can't, but my buddy can. Say hi, buddy.
Yeah.
Hi.
Say hi, buddy. Yeah.
Anything
that's
at
a
anybody?
Great point. The Meg will go back to the point above. What if the corruption was just a presence of a polymorph dragon, and it's the essence just permeated the area and corrupted people around it?
That's also really cool.
That's good.
That would also be really cool. Could you
Luna
imagine?
Luna makes a great point. Everybody, every major culture, even every culture in the world has some kind of dragon-esque story.
Yes. It's insane, man. I think one of my favorite things at the end of the day is just like what the dragon means to humanity. It has been a permanent culture shock on all of us. Yeah.
Because some people be like it means evil, bad, horrible, and some people be like it's a noble, protective creature.
Especially in Greece.
But that's
like,
that,
yeah,
that's
there
next
were a bunch.
week's. The Chromatics are not the nice ones as far as the
Yeah,
canon
metallics are
of-
coming next week.
The canon of D&D.
Yeah. And it's going to be very interesting when we start tying into Asian folklore next week. Because I love those dragons even more. They're so interesting.
They are. I mean, they really. Like, every culture has their story, but I mean, though that culture really leaned in, and I really love it. I love it. They really.
And we'll
really
talk
went
about.
ham.
I do want to touch on when we get to that episode is just like how ingrained they are in the culture.
And that's why that's why I worded my answer the way you did. Like, what does a dragon mean to you? Depends where you're from.
Yeah.
It could be an incredible thing, or an
or a
awful
fucking
thing.
terrible thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think this is where we're gonna cut it. If nobody else has anything to add, is there anything else coming up in the chat?
There's a good point. Dragon Bitcoin.
That's where those hard drives went.
That's where the hard drives.
Did you ever see that? Did you ever
Oh,
see
yeah.
that story about the dude who lost
yeah.
all those hard drives
yeah.
filled with Bitcoin?
Gone.
Dragon took the Bitcoin. Dragon took the Bitcoin.
100%.
He's laying on them right now.
Just this. He's got them all powered up. He's got this walls lined with them, just hearing the fans turning. Just
Could you imagine just like there's one username and it's like I'm a dragon, and it's just like the dude with the most Bitcoin in the world.
Absolutely.
It's like my horde doesn't even need to be like physical. I could just fucking sit here and let it fucking roll in.
Yeah.
Oh.
I know what it means to me.
Oh, it's so fucking good. It's so fucking good. Cryptocurrency bro dragon with a podcast.
Oh my god. I mean, if you really want to get like tinfoil hat theory, really think about it. Like if dragons were truly real in the sense that we know them as, and they could shape change into humans, what would they do? They would be your, depending on what they wanted, they would be your billionaires, your trillionaires, or here's a super scary thought, they'd be your Tony Robbins.
The Rothschilds.
Yeah. They'd be like, but what like certain dragons would be like are big worldwide motivational speakers. Tony Robbins, David Goggins. Like, think about how a dragon is. And some want hordes, some want social media followers. That's how it's evolved for them.
Yeah. That's getting into some real like American Gods territory. That's
wrong,
real interesting. That's real interesting. But no, I 100% like just like fucking the Rothschilds own all the banks. The oil crisis.
So anyways.
This motherfucker is siphoning it. anyways.
I'm getting
No, I know. I'm starting to get a headache. But no, I'm really glad we got to do this episode. And we are going to be going back to a weekly scheduled upload. I apologize that you guys had to wait so long for this one to come out, but we are getting back into the swing of things after Gen Con.
Which was huge.
But yes. It was fucking
I could
nuts.
talk about that the rest of the time if you just want to chat. Like, this is pretty much just chatting now, guys. We're just hanging out.
It's like that when the Gabriel Iglesias comedy special where he's like, "This is officially a fluffy hangout. If what I say you don't think is funny, well then that's your fault. You're staying."
We're not paying you to be here. You didn't pay to be here.
Yeah. I think honestly, Gen Con was really interesting to me just because like I took part in a LARP for the first time.
I did too.
That was fucking real interesting. And you missed so much shit after you didn't come back, man.
I had to DM. I had to go.
Nah,
be a
I know
GM.
you did. I know you did.
I had a blast GMing for you, JP. If you're out there and you can hear this, your world is amazing. Your one-shots were amazing. And thank you so very much. And look forward to hopefully doing it again next year.
I'm hoping to get in there again next year. It's just a big fucking price tag.
I mean, we'll talk offline about that.
We'll talk offline about that. At the end of the day, though, I think my favorite part was just like, I think so. The LARP we took part in was a Vampire the Masquerade LARP. And I don't think they realized how fucking insane some D&D players can be when you give them the right mechanics to fuck with.
I mean. Some people didn't know. I ran into about 5 of those guys. One night going home.
Yeah.
Or going back to Airbnb. Yeah.
Nice.
I was like, I know you, and I said their vampire name, and they turned. And it was the guy he's a super nice guy, incredible dude, but he was the one who was being an absolute asshole to me because I was the mayor.
Trying to remember.
He wore the aviators the whole time.
Oh yes, I loved him. I meant to get his contact info, but I didn't, and that's unfortunate. But no, dude, that guy was awesome. We ended up doing on the second night. We basically did a little bit of a one shot where like the rest of them went into a hospital to go like investigate some of these vampire attacks that have been happening that we couldn't explain. Turns out it was a bunch of lichens and changelings.
Oh wow.
In that place. So like he basically triggered the tripwire and summoned what they called a glass walker. I don't know what that means, but they're terrifying apparently. And we were able to just make it out by the skin of our teeth. My dude the entire time's just chilling in the getaway van, listening to all of the dad rock he can find.
What's it called?
What is it?
What was it called?
Glasswalker.
Yeah, Glasswalker.
Glasswalker. It's a lichen. It's a type of lichen.
Yeah, I'm looking them
Or
up.
Garu, as they call it.
Quick.
Yeah. But like it was so fucking funny, man. It was so funny. There was one point where like one of the other groups brought back a changeling and then fed it vampire blood and created an abomination that is like not supposed to exist. So we had to kill it very quickly. I didn't even get involved in that. To be honest, I was like, they're gonna fuck themselves up. That was a whole fucking thing.
Oh wow, okay, that's pretty interesting.
My favorite part though was the very last night.
Yeah.
When the hunters showed up.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, dude. So like, you know me, I was like reserving all of my shit. I was being real choosy about what I did. And then the last night I was like, I've barely used any of these things.
It's time to start.
Yeah, I just ripped all the corners off my cards and I was like, we're going into this. So I go to attack one of the hunters and then the Enigma, the one vampire chick, comes up and says stop and compels me to not fight the hunters.
Oh, wow.
So I got trapped by the legs and I was like, you know what? I'm a vampire now. And my dude, my character was named Jericho, was a bayou thumping motherfucker from the middle of Louisiana and did not have any human contact, just lived off the fat of the land and wrestled fucking gators all day, right?
Yep.
So I was like, I can probably do without my legs. So I cut them off and continued to fight. And then by the end of it, we realized we could not beat these hunters. So like 1/3 of the group, I think it was like 10, 15 people, got into one corner and we're like, we're just leaving. Me and Shaq were in that group along with the visionary, Colin, great guy, friggin' immaculate individual. And I had 4 corners left of Dread Gaze because that's the only thing I wasn't using. So I was like, okay, we're gonna get the fuck out of here. And we get told that as we're getting the fuck out of there, there's like a bunch more hunters, right? This is where knowing your abilities comes in real handy, people, and I'm gonna tell you this right now. So I was like, damn, I don't have enough Dread Gaze for that. Shaq, if you've seen her on our Sunday games, was a Tremere, which means that if another vampire drank from her blood supply, it wouldn't subjugate them, which is a big thing in Vampire the Masquerade. If you drink another vampire's blood, you are now owned by that vampire. But as a Tremere, she didn't have that problem, and I didn't have that problem. So she was like, well, if I just kept loading him up with my blood, could we just make him like a machine gun of Dread Gaze and make them all terrified? And the game masters looked at us and they were like, y'all are nuts. And then the visionary, Colin, comes up and he's like, I could literally carry this dude out while you feed him. I was like, we're going to turn me into a gun? Let's fucking go. And we all made it out by turning me into a fear gun.
That's incredible. I wish I could have stuck around to see how it went. But those of you that don't know, had the absolute pleasure of being invited to sit in a room with a company called First Ones Entertainment. It is owned by JP. He is an incredible individual who has written for Wizards of the Coast. He's written for Paizo. His own homebrew worlds that he has published is incredible. I love running his worlds. And what's really neat is he sent me home with a bag of minis.
That's awesome.
Every GM that was there got a bag of minis that we used, and it was
amazing.
And something, just a treat that I did for myself. Honestly, I was a little selfish here. Was I printed all the one shots that I was running for First Ones Entertainment, and I took the iconic silver Sharpie with me, and I had him sign them.
Fuck
because
yes.
they will never be released. So that's something that I get to keep for myself.
That's amazing.
JP, if you ever hear this, thank you so very much. It was very fun to run your worlds. To the players that I had that would come in on Friday and on Saturday and Sunday, and you requested to sit at my table, nothing has made me feel more appreciated. Excuse me, few things. I won't say nothing. Few things have made me feel so validated and incredible as a GM. Because if you play D&D or any tabletop game, you probably have imposter syndrome. And
oh yeah, oh yeah.
I'll tell you this story, then we'll get out of here because it's a little bit of a heartbreaker or heart wrencher. So I was a nervous wreck Friday until my timetable was 7 to midnight. About 7:02, I finally hit my stride, and I just forget that I'm at Gen Con and there's hundreds of thousands of people around me anywhere and getting even time, and that I'm even in a room with, let me think here, 5, 10, 15, 20, 26, 30 people. I'm just at a table DMing 5 or 6 people. And I just had a blast. And then Saturday rolls around, and I get there at about 6:15, 6:30, and 3 people from the prior night came in, and they approached me, and they literally said, "What table are you DMing? We want to sit at your table." And to put into context how great that felt, we had 4. Let's see if I can try and describe this. So the room had 4 tables, and the 4 DMs sat in the centermost portions. At random times, well, not random times, but random to the players, known to us, the guy who was running it would begin to do like a slow clap. And all the GMs would pack their shit, get up, and rotate 1 table clockwise.
Oh.
To signify the shifting of the realm, because the realms were unstable.
Yep.
So then we would unpack our things. So I DM'd. I mean, all of us did this. I won't say that. All of us had the chance to DM for like 30 people in a span of 4 hours. So what really made it great was because the people that asked to come back were not at my original table. They're at a different table that I just rotated through. That just felt really good. That's my feel-good story.
That's amazing.
And then, of course,
honestly, it's
got
beautiful.
I got to meet you for the first time in person. I got to meet Shaq for the first time in person. And it was a lot of fun. It was really great to meet you guys.
Absolutely. Honestly, dude, like, and I'm still going to be on your ass because I want to fucking... Next time, need a little bit more of your time, motherfucker, because I want to be able to hang out with you
I'll
more.
plan better next time.
Absolutely.
Next time I'll be fine. I'll be way more chill.
I think the experience was amazing, and while I didn't get to DM, I did get to take part in a few things, and I think out of all of the experiences that were there, the best ones were just getting to see all of the people that I had only ever known through a screen for so long, and like was a surreal experience. You and Saquon are no different in person.
I know.
Than you are on camera.
No, I'm not.
You're really not. It's so fucking weird, man. It was a beautiful experience.
I have no. There's. I promise. Like, there's no difference. Like, how I am here is how I am when I'm doing the dishes, when I'm at work at my desk, which is just right over there. You can't see it because I can't show it to you because it might have information on it, but my work desk is right over there. I am literally, this attitude you get is just me. I do my best to not change who I am for stream because that's just fake. I do enough faking when I'm a GM of the Wednesday night game. So
yeah. And I very much like in the same turn, like I try not to be any different in person than I am in real life. I think I have I like to think I've done fairly well in that regard.
So I will ask this question because I'm going to tell you what I thought. When I saw you in person for the first time, I knew what I was getting. Because for you, it's hard to hide what you are. It's hard to hide how big you are.
Yeah.
I knew you were a big dude going into it.
Yeah.
But a lot of people tell me, they're like, we didn't realize you were 6'4".
Dude, I'm going to tell you right now, you told me you were 6'4" before we met. I was not prepared for the walking wall that came into the fucking room. My God. You are an impressive human being, just like as a specimen in general, but like, fuck, man. I'm like, I'm 6'3". You're only an inch taller than me.
Just an inch.
And we did find this out. We did find this out, and I'm so glad that I was
He
validated in my eye. Yeah. So like seeing somebody taller than me is already like a rarity 90% of the time. But you walked in and you were just like, and I was like, whoa!
8-foot wingspan, just hey.
Yeah, but like honestly though, you are definitely the type to like give a hug to the world, and like that's exactly what I saw when I first saw you, and it was a beautiful experience, honestly. Like because like and we are very like-minded people. We have the same sort of vibe about us to an extent.
Yeah.
I can get a little bit more angry than you can, I think, a lot quicker than you can. But
I've been tempered by various other uniforms of various branches. I'll just say this: if you get this joke, you get it. I don't like to talk about my other experiences because I don't want people to think I'm like trying to overbrag or anything. So I'll just say this: I like crayons, and I'll leave it at that. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, Google it.
But like you are every inch of the human being that I thought you were, and I am so glad for that. Because that's the biggest thing. Like, and you know what? It proved to me a theory that I had, and I'm gonna say this, and then we will finally fucking close this out.
I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, I can tell.
I don't even care anymore. I'm getting my snacks.
Listen, man, Brendan Lee Mulligan said it best. Like, you know what? Fucking snack up. But like, everyone always talks about how like you never know who you're talking to on the internet. You never know for sure who they are. And to an extent that is true. But what I find more often than not is that people are their truest selves online. And what I mean by that is like when you're in the open, you're physically with other people, there is a air of reputation that you want to put out there. Despite that, on the internet, you are anonymous, you are whoever you want to be. But 9 times out of 10, we're suppressing who we really are anyway. Who would you want to be other than yourself? It's a very dark mirror to look at, because that also means all of the fucking assholes that you meet on the internet are, well, just fucking assholes.
Yeah.
But the good people that you meet, the people that will bring you in and embrace you as friend or as family, like people like you and me, like, we are brothers, 100%. You are, without a doubt, one of my favorite people that I have ever had the pleasure to meet.
Thank you. You're my favorites too.
And it just goes to show, like, because I've always existed in online spaces because I didn't have a place, you know? I didn't fit in with the people around me. I didn't fit in my small town. I didn't fit in anywhere. And I didn't have a game shop to go play D&D in. I didn't have any of that. I just got to watch the lore videos and hope one day that maybe it would happen. I am grateful and I am blessed to have gotten to know you and to have gotten to know all of these other people. I am blessed to have gotten to meet my fiance through this. And it just goes to show that, like, to all of you people, because I know there's a few of you that exist in online spaces like I do. And if you hear this, understand that, like, this is the only parting thing I have to say. Those of you who tell, those of you who hear those words, oh, they're just online friends. They're not real friends. Fuck them. Don't listen to them. Because you will find your people. Whether through here, whether in person, whether however you're comfortable finding your people, but you will find your people. And there's a good few of you in that chat that know exactly what I mean and know that I mean what I say. So, from the bottom of my heart, as I close out tonight, thank you so very much for tuning into this episode of Factual Fables, the show where we take real world mythology and use it to spice up your monster manual. And I hope you know that you are appreciated here. I hope you know that you are welcome here in our spaces, and know that we love you and we thank you for supporting us. All of you have a fantastic night.